You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth and Power Talks. Welcome to Power Talks. I'm Beth Ann, and I say good morning to you and good morning to Melody. Melody, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Good morning to you and good morning to the listeners. There's tons of things to talk about today, but before we get to breaking news and the things that I would like to talk about today, I think they're very important because it kind of answers my question or my concerns about Roy Moore. And Pat Buchanan kind of put it into perspective, and I'd like to share that. Because if I was having those, I think many people were having, what do you do as a conservative, as a Christian? How how do you lean? What do you do? What type of a decision? How can the voters of Alabama, they have to be confused.
The discernment, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, but first, I think Beth has something.
I have breaking news. I don't know why you think this isn't breaking news.
We're going to start off with...
This is breaking news in Beth's world that, of course, I've known this in my heart for a very long time, that drinking coffee actually benefits your health. And this is a review of 200-plus studies, and they've put them all together. It says drinking coffee comes with a range of health benefits. A new study has revealed giving caffeine junkies a valid reason to enjoy a guilt-free cup. According to the USA Today, researchers conducted a review of more than 200 previous studies. It's amazing we've done that many studies on coffee on the subject and discovered a common theme. Drinking coffee was linked to numerous health benefits that included a lower risk of mortality. I'm going to be here a while. Reduction in cardiovascular disease, Parkinson's disease, diabetes type 2, and even depression and dementia. There have been consistently decisive conclusions that when it comes to the link between coffee drinking and health, with some arguing that consumption posed health risks while others touted the benefits. So they put them all together and they came up with coffee consumption is more often associated with benefit than harm for a range of health outcomes across multiple measures of exposure, including high versus low, any versus none, and one extra cup a day. We carried out the umbrella review to bring this existing evidence together. This is breaking news. To draw the conclusion that coffee is good for you. And then they go on and they still say, to use in moderation. I'm thinking, why? Why moderation? I have a little story that goes with that. And then I wrote a poem several years ago about coffee time because Beth is a coffee drinker. But I saw a doctor, just my normal yearly checkup a few years ago. Everything was good. My blood was good. All things were good. My blood pressure, everything was great and wonderful. And she asks me how much coffee I drink. And I kind of sort of told her. And she said, well, maybe we should cut that in half. And I'm looking at her, I'm going, why? Why would we cut that in half? When everything is perfect, you don't rock the boat. So this is my morning coffee time poem. Melody, it's not just about coffee. You'll find that out.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't
interrupt me.
I'm sorry.
Coffee with a friend is a beautiful thing. To sip in conversation over almost anything. They enjoy the aroma and the warmth of the brew. However, the cup of joy in Java is just an excuse to bring the secret pleasures of the time well used to join the warmth and trust of friendship that is true. Friends share more than conversation and coffee. True friends share their hearts and their souls. That's my poem about
very
coffee.
Very lovely. Very nice.
I thought. She's not sure what she got into with me. But I want to hear about Pat Buchanan, unless you would have saved that for the next segment.
I think we got time because there's two things that I really wanted to talk about today. There's a lot to talk about. There's tons of things to talk about, and I see where Obama is going to be meeting with world leaders. I mean, I wonder what he's up to. Well, I think we all know, but
yeah.
And remember, a couple of weeks ago, I brought you something by the a magazine, or it's called The College Fix. Some very disturbing reports that I find.
Yes.
And
yes.
this one has to do about, well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So those two things I want to talk about most. We can save that one for the second segment. But it's about the San Diego State University students. They're going under a disturbing series of sensory experiences in an attempt to drive out students' prejudicial tendencies and help make them less oppressive. We'll talk about that after the break. I mean, it's just truly, truly disturbing. But Pat Buchanan, he says, why Roy Moore matters. Why would Christian conservatives in good conscience go to the polls on December 12th and vote for Judge Roy Moore, despite the charges of sexual misconduct with teenagers leveled against him? His answer? The Alabama Senate race could determine whether Roe v. Wade is overturned. The lives of millions of unborn babies may be the stakes. And he goes on and he talks about how the Republicans now hold the 52 Senate seats. If Democrats pick up that Alabama seat, they need only 2 more to recapture the Senate, and with it the power to kill any conservative court nominee as they killed Robert Bork. Today, the GOP, holding Congress and the White House, has a narrow path to capture the third branch, the Supreme Court, and to dominate the federal courts for decades. For this historic opportunity, the party can thank 2 senators. And he goes on and he talks about Harry Reid, and he talks about Chuck Grassley, and so forth. And this year, GOP Senate voted to use the nuclear option to shut down a filibuster of Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, who was then confirmed with the 55 votes. And he goes and then he talks about how the Democratic minority still had one card to play to block President Trump's nominees. It's called the blue slip courtesy. He says if a senator from the state where a federal judicial nominee resides asks for a hold on proceedings by not returning a blue slip, the Judiciary Committee has traditionally honored that request and not held hearings. Senator Al Franken of Minnesota used the blue chip to block the Trump nomination of David Strauss of Minnesota to the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. Franken calls Strauss too ideological and too conservative. What I find interesting about that, now all of a sudden Al Franken has these little problems with his sexual harassment. So I'm thinking, if you had to look about conspiracy theories and so forth, and everybody has skeletons in their closets, and, it just kind of makes you wonder, if you believe in coincidences. But that's not the part of the article that I find important. It's all about why Roy Moore is important. So it's all about capturing the 3 it's all about capturing, let me get down to his bottom line, about the third branch of government for conservatism. And if the election of Virginia this year is a harbinger of what is to come, GOP control of Congress could be washed away in a tidal wave in 2018. So it really is about keeping control, holding control, and getting control of that third branch of government. And that's why he goes on and talks about how important that December 12th election in Alabama counts. And so, folks, go to his website. Just Google Patrick Buchanan, why Roy Moore matters. And he goes more into details about, the Democrats and how Bill Clinton lost control of both the House and the Senate in his first off-year election. Barack Obama, again, the same thing. And, these were presidents that were certainly more popular than Trump is today. So, or how he is perceived anyway. So, again, it is important. So, there's big things at stake here. Big, and and we can go back and say, well, is there really any difference? Is there? Do you believe there's really any difference that we really have if we were able to capture that third branch?
I think that we have to take back the Supreme Court, but, I kind of cringe every time people say they're concerned about losing the GOP control. Because I'm thinking, what control?
Yep.
What is it that they have done for us? And, you and I have grave concerns about this nation and about how it's being governed. It has been hijacked by this two-party system. Now, I get in arguments with family over this. Well, you can't have all these parties. I go, why not? Why do we have to have this two-party system that is based on so much money? Why does it cost billions of dollars to run for an office? Because they're buying them. That's why. And I watched Lou Dobbs last night, and I heard the concern in his voice, and he was talking to the American people like you and I do. The American people need to be angry, they need to be upset, but they've got to do something, because it's only you and I that can do something. We don't know if these allegations against Roy Moore are true or not.
No.
They are 38 years ago. There isn't anything recent, unlike these others that have been a lifetime of sexual harassment and misbehavior. That's not excusing him if he did do this. It's not excusing him at all. But look at what his legacy has been since then. Now, I know that some people don't like him because he butt heads with some federal laws and got, kicked out a few times. But look at some of these federal laws. Look at what's going on in this nation. And I think Pat Buchanan makes a really good point.
He does. If
we're going to overturn or if we're going to change anything legislatively, we're going to have somebody like Roy Moore in there that's not one of these people. He's not one of the brotherhood of the Republican Party, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And you know what? It's a start. I get, I certainly don't support the majority of the GOP, and you're right. But you're going to give it.
Well, we know that the Democrat Party isn't going to follow anything constitutional. They want socialism. I believe the Republican Party, many of them want socialism too. I think they all want big government. They really aren't concerned about you or me or Fibber McGee. They're not concerned about us. They keep talking about how everything is better. Jobs are better. Everything is better. But you and I know that it isn't 100% better yet. We're struggling here in mid-Missouri. I'm struggling. It's hard to get advertisers on CSC Talk Radio. It's hard to get people to do anything because they're hurting. People are hurting. They either don't have jobs or they're trying to make up for the years that they didn't have any job. And it's not going to turn around like that. And it goes back to what you always say. It's our currency. Until we fix that, the economy isn't really going to improve. But these guys don't want to fix it. As I was saying yesterday, they don't want to fix it. I hear music.
Yes.
I hear music. I love Pat Buchanan. I think he really...
He makes so much sense, and he takes the emotion out of it.
He can stand back and see the bigger picture. We're going into a break. The number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call to join us in conversation is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. Melody wanted to finish up with what she was saying there about Judge Roy Moore and the election there in Alabama that's coming up.
And it continues to get a little more cloudy as there's a retired Marine colonel that launched his Senate write-in campaign. His name is Lee Busby. He's 60, out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he thinks that the allegations of sexual impropriety against Republican Roy Moore have created an opportunity for a centrist candidate to win more than a third of the state's votes. He's a retired Marine colonel. He once served as top aide to the White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and he plans to launch a long-shot write-in campaign. He did that yesterday afternoon. He only has about, 14 days left in the campaign.
Yeah. Wow.
He lacks any, formal campaign structure or even a working website. And he retired from the Marine Corps in 2013 and has focused on his most recent passion as a sculptor in clay of U.S. military veterans from Iraq and Afghan wars. His artistic work was recently featured in Southern Living. So I saw an interview on him this morning. He's a little quite shy of the cameras and so forth. He thinks that in Alabama you have the, extreme right and the extreme left, and he thinks if he comes up in the centrist, as the center, he'll be able to gather those that have concerns about Roy Moore, and of course the left who, want their guy in there. So
how does he stand on some of the conservative issues? Is he going to say he's a moderate? I mean, where does he stand on certain issues like abortion, like Planned Parenthood, like Obamacare? Where does he stand on some of those?
Well, he didn't really. When he was interviewed this morning, he really didn't say. He is.
Okay.
He has been a Republican. He's voted Republican. So I think he's most likely, he's conservative to the degree of, I'm sure he's not as far right as Moore is, but he didn't really say. He just says he's in the center. So whatever that might represent.
Okay. At least he didn't say moderate. I don't like the word moderate. I think of somebody that's riding the fence. And then they decide which side they're going to get off or on.
He said he did say, here he comes, the people of Alabama are not going to be represented by someone who supports a liberal abortion policy. He says he's extremely concerned about the Democratic Party in Alabama. He says he doesn't think they reflect Alabama's views. So
okay.
that would be, But again, he's going to be taking votes away from Roy Moore now. And we're not quite sure if he would be voting along those same strong lines as Roy Moore would. So, but all
right.
So we have a caller.
We do. We have Joe from Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Yeah, I'm all right. And how are y'all?
We're
just
doing
fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I wanted to make a point about a recent Supreme Court decision that I haven't heard anybody else make yet, but I think it's a point worth making. And that's concerning the Supreme Court, as I understand it, upheld a ban on semi-automatic rifles imposed by the state of Maryland. And they said that the state of Maryland could ban these semi-automatic rifles because they are military weapons. Now, as I recall, the first time the Supreme Court upheld a gun ban was in the 1930s, and this was in a case that came out of Oklahoma, where a man was arrested for having a sawed-off shotgun. And the Supreme Court in that case said that the state of Oklahoma could ban the sawed-off shotgun because the Second Amendment was meant to arm the militia, and since a sawed-off shotgun was not a military weapon, therefore it could be banned. So in the one case, they said a gun could be banned because it was not a military weapon, and now they're saying a gun can be banned because it is a military weapon. Obviously, they're not following any sort of law, established law, but they're just ruling according to what policy they want to enforce.
Yeah, I have that here somewhere. I'm looking for it. I did bring that in this morning for today's show. I buried it, though. Hang on a second. It's here somewhere. But, yes, they did make that ban and upheld that, and that's kind of scary. That's our Second Amendment, and it's kind of scary when they do that.
Yeah,
I can't find it.
Yeah, they passed this after 2012, the Sandy Hook.
Yes.
They passed that measure. And it bans 45 kinds of assault weapons and puts a 10-round limit on gun magazines. And
go ahead.
No, it's pretty much all I have on it. And
I have a complete article on it that I had.
I was just doing that from memory.
Piling my show piles up here. But yes, he's absolutely right, and that's scary stuff when the Supreme Court is going against the Second Amendment. Of course, we know that they've gone against an awful lot of things, and I just really can't find it. I don't know what I did. Must have put it with my coffee, or. But anyway, it's mine was coming from a conservative news organization that sends out some of these things, and I'm not always 100% sure that they're on top of it. So I kind of buried it. Obviously, I really buried it, and I was a little concerned about it. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's the point I wanted to make this morning. Thanks, bye.
I found it. It's on top. It was on top all along. It says Supreme Court issues an unthinkable ruling. has taken the rather unthinkable stance today, which was yesterday, on 2 Second Amendment cases, one from Maryland and one from Florida. And the nation's top court has decided that the laws banning assault weapons and open carry will remain. So, first of all, there is no assault weapon. That is a name that they have given it. That's like puppy mills. HSUS gave to dog kennels. They call them puppy mills, and there is no such thing. Are there breeders who don't follow the rules? Yes, there are, but the majority of them do follow the rules, and that's kind of chasing a rabbit here. But I'm just saying, those who have an agenda make up names. A weapon, calling it an assault weapon, well, is a knife an assault knife? If you take a kitchen knife and you stab someone to death with it, is it now an assault knife, or is it a kitchen knife? What is it? Those are just names that they make up to make them sound bad. So the Supreme Court has declined to review the bans and even refused to comment on the 2 cases. In Florida, the issue was the open carry laws of the state. Dale Norman, a citizen, has challenged the ban after he was arrested and fined. While walking down the street, Norman apparently had a gun in a holster that was not covered by his shirt. So I guess if he'd had it covered, he'd have been okay. In the end, he was found guilty of violating the open carry law. When he appealed, the Florida Supreme Court sided with the state. They ruled that the state's law doesn't contradict the Second Amendment. So, in Missouri, we now have open carry. But I still don't think necessarily it's a smart thing. In fact, I had somebody teach me that it wasn't really necessarily a smart thing for a woman to open carry where everyone can see it, because we are, as a rule, not as strong as some men, and we could be overpowered, and they could take that because they can see it, and they can easily take it. And unless you really have some great training, and but that is something, Joe's right, that hasn't been talked about. I did bring it in here, but I hadn't got to it yet, so thank you, Joe.
And you know what is the most disturbing part about this at all? That's always reference to Sandy Hook and blah, blah, blah. Let's take a look at Baltimore, Maryland. It is just as bad as Chicago as far as the amount of crime, the loss of life in Baltimore. You can't even walk the street. I mean, when my cousin was in the hospital up there, you couldn't walk to the hospital in daytime. John Hopkins.
Wow.
Because it just happens to be in that part of the city where they had the riots, were just a block or 2 away. You didn't walk. And where I stayed was a hotel that was a couple blocks away, very easily to walk, but you had to take a cab because you didn't walk.
Because it's not safe to walk.
It's not safe to walk.
Wow.
Church shooter.
Yeah. Yeah, they forget about that.
They forget about those times.
Well, if the other guy hadn't had a gun, he wouldn't have needed one. So if nobody had a gun, as if that's really going to be the case. And
this brings me to what I found on that website from the College Fix.
Okay.
The conditioning of the minds anymore. Each year, San Diego State University challenges its community to step outside their comfort zone and into the shoes of those who are struggling with oppressive circumstances. Now, this is on the College of the San Diego State University. Through an event, it's called a Shared Humanity. Participants will be guided through a series of vignettes that highlight the many forms of oppression people face every day. A shared humanity is the name of it, is an element of residential education's larger goal to better inform students on a variety of social issues. The event succeeds in challenging predisposed beliefs and attitudes. And what they do is they have these, hold on, let me bring up my other report. They go through these series of sensory experiences This is a workshop. It's done by Journey to a Shared Humanity. And it's described on the university's website as a way for students to step outside their comfort zone. This year, some students were required to attend the event as part of their classes. During the experience, students are walked through a darkened, multi-purpose room to view a series of theatrical vignettes acted out by campus leaders. For example, in this year's rendition held earlier this month, students observed skits that included a black man yelling at them to stand against and face the wall and not look at him. The performer yells, as he was a drill instructor, "Let's go, face the wall, don't look at me." And he'd go on and on. Then there was another part. First they came for the Native Americans, but I'm not Native American, so I did not speak up. I mean, this goes on and on. Then they came for the Jews, but I'm not a Jew, so I did not speak up. And it goes on.
And of course, that's coming from a famous writer of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
But they're comparing this to what?
They're trying to change the views, through these sensory experiences of these students. So it changes. It's in an attempt to drive out the students' prejudicial tendencies and help make them less oppressive. So they're kind of like telling these kids that maybe their prejudices have come from their parents or whatever, and now we're going to drive those ideas out of you, those tendencies. We're going to change you and conform you to this belief that, everybody else in the world is racist, I guess. I don't know. But I mean, it's disturbing.
It's like you said yesterday. That seems to be the new political correct thing. It's call everyone a racist.
Call everyone a racist.
The prince in Great Britain, what's his name? I get the princes mixed up. Well, he just recently got engaged to an actress from the United States, and a very pretty woman. She is of mixed color. So everybody's making a big deal out of it. They can't just embrace the fact that these two young people fell in love, and they're just going crazy over this, that she is of mixed race. And, this is something that for years they fought for, and now they're acting like it's what they don't want, and it just confuses me.
It's really interesting. That is an interesting fact, though, because you have the chain and their bloodlines. Mm-hmm. I mean, most of their marriages have been arranged of royalty and so forth. So this really is kind of.
Well, it is a step outside the norm.
I mean, it really is, and it's interesting. I think it's going to be interesting to see if they even get married. He might have engaged, she might have accepted, but it'll be interesting to see if they actually get married.
Well, I don't know, but they seem very happy. But then they always do. So did a couple other couples, a few other couples that were. Married over there, but it's I was talking about what was being said wasn't nice. It wasn't necessarily that the step outside. I saw it I didn't even know about it. That's how on top of those things I stay. I didn't even know about it till I saw it on Fox last night, and they were talking about it. I go, oh my gosh, the tweeting and the things that were being said were just. Why can't they just say congratulations? What do they have to make a big deal out of everything for? Either one way or the other, whether they're against it or for it or trying to claim it's some great step. And I guess it is, like you said, their marriages have been arranged and controlled for many, many centuries. and now he's stepping outside the norm. But so did his dad when he married his mother. That was kind of outside the norm.
Yeah, look what happened to her.
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't.
Look what happened to her. But
so anyway,
I just want to finish up on this because it truly is disturbing. what is happening to our colleges and our universities? It's like, oh my gosh, they're putting these kids through these sensory experiences. It's disturbing. Even the organizers say that they acknowledge the annual event may be disturbing, but adds it is an effective tool used to teach people about how it really feels to be in oppressive situations. After students viewed the immersive live theatrical experience presented in a collective of raw and emotional performance, as it has been described, then they're taken into a room and they're debriefed by professors or other campus leaders about how the skits made them feel and what they should do to better combat oppression.
Why is that?
Well, let me just finish up on this. After one such performance, that's all right. After one such performance earlier this month, a student group that experienced a journey together then engaged in a discussion during which the professor leading the talk said President Donald Trump is a racist and also encouraged the students to fight against oppression. It is our sincere hope that by exposing students to the oppressive systems in society, they'll take a look at how we all participate in these systems and hopefully commit to changing oppressive patterns and behaviors.
I'm thinking of all the money that is spent on college education. And this is what they're doing to our children.
Yes.
To our youth. And the parents, unless they're all liberals, they need to stand up and say no. That should not be a part of their college education. It's scary. It's very scary what they're doing to the young people. And, here we have, Elizabeth Warren and some of these others. They're talking about how much college education, Sanders, which should be free college. And these are the ones that are charging $400,000 to go and speak at a college. How many kids could have had their tuition for $400,000?
I mean, it's just...
And then they want to control them like this, and that's why they want to control them, because they want them to be a socialist. I get the indoctrination of, even from, kindergarten anymore. I get all that and so forth, but I had no idea that things like this were sensories to change their what difference is how any different is this than what Hitler did? I saw a report last night about the students from China that are over here and how the Chinese government is censoring them and keeping a very close eye on what they say and do while they're here in the United States. And I thought that was using fear, threatening fear tactics against them, so, their movement as far as on social media and all that, everything is watched. These kids are under surveillance, so to speak, from their own government of China while they are going to college here in the United States. And I had, and this has been several years ago, I need to dig his name out. He was a professor, I want to say at the University of Michigan, but I'm not positive as to where it was. But he was talking then about the problem with the China in the colleges and the universities. And, of course, it's all we hear is Russia, Russia, Russia. And not that Russia's not a threat. Right now, I think just about everybody's a threat because this nation has been, its national security has been torn down by this corrupt two-party system. And President Barack Obama's administration, whether he intentionally was ignoring the safety of this nation, which I don't doubt, or just too busy playing president and hobnobbing around. But we're in a mess right now, and I don't know if the American people realize the criticalness of it. But we are in a mess, and here there's only one reason There's only one reason for a governing body to want to disarm their citizens.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever think it's for your safety. It's for their safety that they want to disarm you. They don't want you fighting back when they overtax you. They don't want you fighting back when they come to land grab. They don't want you fighting back when they come and take your children. They don't want you fighting back. So they have to disarm.
And they don't want you to have weapons when people realize what has been done to them.
And people are starting to realize. I want to ask one question. I'm going to ask it before we go into the bank, and so people can think about it. Why do they call President Donald Trump a racist? 717-300-1218. 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit DiscountGoldandSilverTrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And sent you. And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call is 717-300-1218. I threw a question out there because I am so sick and tired of them saying this. Why do they say President Donald Trump is a racist? What has he ever done to deserve that title? I don't know of anything he's done. I know what they go back and refer to. But if you go back and you listen, which I think is the problem with the mainstream media and the liberal left, they don't understand language.
If you're not politically correct, you're a racist. It's as simple as that.
I think
so. If you and that's
is it because he's white?
you hear, that's another reason, you hear these people on these liberals who right away the first thing out of their lips is, that's racist. It's like, what are you talking about? People sometimes don't have a racist bone in their body, but they're accused of being racist because they don't comply to their political correctness.
I think you're racist because you like cranberry chili sauce out of a can. We have Bob from Missouri. He's probably laughing at us. Bob from Missouri, how are you today?
No, I think you're totally on target, Or I could say if you're a turnip, you say that you're not, you're racist, You can make anything out of anything. The whole point behind this is racism is the crux of their whole communist takeover of this country.
Yeah.
It's been used by Hollywood, the media, and only today you can really see it because there's a contrast because you got the internet and stuff like that. Before we were totally brainwashed. But first it started with the Indians. We stole the land from the Indians.
Yes,
then we're the biggest racist or the biggest slave owners in the world. Well, let me give you a clue about something. Slavery's been going on since the beginning of mankind, okay?
And it's still going on.
Pardon me?
It's still going on.
And it still's going on. Here's a big clue about this, using the blacks for the racism card. The Arabs, the Middle Easterns own slaves, and they still do. They're killing them all over Africa. Do you hear them saying people about that? Do you see any of the Black Lives Matter ain't going up to any Muslim temple and say you're slave owners? And you were in the past
well,
the biggest slave owners
not
of blacks.
That brave.
Not a peep out of these people, okay? So it's all the old Goebbels technique, and that's all these guys got.
Yeah.
If you look at their numbers, all they are is liars. They own the TV station. They own the information. As they say, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, and that's their whole credo. The little group of people. Just think about the Wizard of Oz. One little guy ran that whole world then, okay, until they pulled the covers off him and the little old man there,
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me?
Through deceit. He was running it through deceit.
Yes, yes, deceit, okay, lies and deceit. But once they lose that card, and the whole media's invested behind it, all this is, the control agents that's the big, which they've ruled, but you know what? It's starting not to work anymore. And you know what? And I look at the media, and just look at this. The media is your enemy. There's no ifs and buts about it. That's propaganda. Why did you realize that propaganda was ruled legal under the Obama term, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
You know that, don't you? When he legalized that, okay? And what's the influence of the communist Chinese into our media also? That's another big concern, which no one ever talks about. But since they can use propaganda, the last time you heard about propagandists was in wars. Like in the Vietnam War, there was Hanoi Hannah, and then against the war against Japan, Tokyo Rose. Well, they're considered enemies. Those were considered enemies. They were soldiers for the opposing force, and that's what you got in your living rooms that you're bringing in there. You bring opposing soldiers that are trying to destroy you in any way they can. They're not powerful enough in numbers and stuff to do it to us right now, but they're doing
they brainwash us similarly.
But it's the same thing. As they say, the pen's mightier than the sword, and that's their motto. And you're letting these clowns do this to us. Everybody should be up in arms about this. This is outrageous. We don't have a media. We don't have any news. It's all propaganda. This is communist China, Russia, and they bear no goodwill towards us. Anyway, you guys, at least we're able to talk about it, so that should make it a happy Thanksgiving for you. Because we got something. We're taking this country back. So that's something to be thankful for, that we're talking about it, and they can't refuse. They're stupid. They really are. These people are stupid. Went to journalism schools and stuff like that. They're idiots. They just parrot some stupid, reverent thing that some communist tells them to say. They're not smart people. Once you can take that crutch away from it, which is called propaganda, which is right now the word racism is being used.
They have to think outside.
Once it's out of there, they can't do anything. It's like Obama. He had to have a little card to read from. He's an idiot. He's a moron. And so that's what these people are. They just got that Trump card. I don't want to say put Trump in there, but the Trump card being propaganda, and that's what they base the whole thing on. Your kids are being propagandized. You're being propagandized. And it's time we take this country back. The
problem is they have an agenda, and they're more dedicated to their agenda than we, the people, are dedicated to liberty. We've been fooled and deceived for such a long time that we accept this. And people are starting to see And will they act is the question. Will they start putting in people in local? You've got to change how your local is governed. So are they going to start being concerned about who they elect locally, as far as county commissioners, county sheriffs, aldermen, those kind of things, your school boards? While I admire and believe in homeschooling, I know that that's not going to happen across 100%. So we need to take back our public school systems. We need to take them back local.
Yeah.
And then the state.
Absolutely.
We've got to take it back. We were designed in this nation to be governed locally, not dictated from D.C. And we have somehow got this inside, outside, upside down, and it's something we have got to recognize before we can fix. Like an alcoholic, first you have to admit you have the problem before you can fix it. So we've got to admit that we've been deceived, and the scales have now fallen off our eyes.
Yeah, it's just a matter of knowing we should all be Sherlock Holmes. You go to a crime scene, you see who's there and what the situation is, and you deduce, not being an idiot that does what some radio tells you or anybody else tells you. You got to deduce it yourself. So they're training our kids to be idiots. Okay, this is the big stand we're in right now. Okay, they're going to fall, we're going to fall.
Freedom used to be to think outside. Freedom used to be to think outside the box, and now they're teaching everyone to think group, to follow the group, to be of this group, not think outside the box, not be artistic, not be...
There's no critical thinking.
Free thinking. No free critical thinking at all. They want you to be group thinking, and that is dangerous. That's mob rule. That is what democracy is, and that is mob rule, and that's what they're trying to get us to. Well, you
can look at two countries. You can look at communist China. They don't produce anything. They copy. And that's another thing. That's another thing you guys should bring up is a copyright infringement on this country from communist China. That was under the Bush administration.
Yes, it was.
Which is treason.
They did a lot of theft.
Okay, that's our country.
They did a lot of theft. Yeah.
They don't produce anything because they're automatons. Okay, this country has freedom. That's where all the inventions come out of this country because we got free minds here. And those unfree minds, those automatons, are trying to take our country over. It's time to take this country back.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's part of what you were talking about with the college fix, is they're teaching these kids to group think. You have to all think alike. You cannot think outside the box or separately. And
it's true. I mean, you try to talk and have a conversation with, someone's, I'm going to say from the other side, and they just parrot everything that they hear. I mean, it's just like they repeat. It's almost like a chant. They just parrot what they hear because they don't think about it. It's like they don't process the information. And these are some very smart people. And yet I can say that they really don't process the information. They just parrot what they think that they're supposed to, or what they think that they believe. And if you really break past that, if you break through that crust, sometimes you actually find that, and they'll never admit it, but they'll say things that are not as how can I say it, as liberal, for lack of a better term at this point, as they pretend or act or believe that they are. Does that make sense?
Right. I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah. I'm glad you do. Thank you.
Well, we try to raise our kids up to think. Think for yourself.
Think for yourself.
Don't just accept what's being told. And they're teaching them the opposite right now.
Common sense.
You need to accept what we tell you. Don't even try to think in logic. I hear music.
Yes.
It's playing free. I love that song. Thank you so much for being with us today. We will be back tomorrow, and until then, we hope you have a great afternoon. Thank you, Melody.
Thank you.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.